Hey Reddit. Longtime lurker, never thought I'd be posting here. I'm still shaking as I type this and I'm not sure what I'm hoping to get out of it, maybe clarity, maybe just to scream into the void. I'll try to keep it as clear as possible. There's a lot. My wife, Sophie, not her real name, and I have been married for 7 years. Together for almost 10. We've had what I thought was a pretty decent relationship. Sure, we had our arguments like any couple, especially during the pandemic when we were stuck in each other's space 24/7, but nothing I would have ever classified as red flags. We don't have kids by choice. We travel, we host game nights, we binge dumb Netflix shows. At least, we used to. I first noticed something was off about 4 months ago. It was subtle. She started staying late at work more often. She's a marketing consultant, so flexible hours aren't weird, but the frequency suddenly was. Her phone, which she used to leave on the counter, started following her everywhere. Bathroom, shower, even to grab the mail. And she started locking it. She said a client's data breach had her paranoid. I bought it. Like an idiot. Then there was the attitude shift. I'd ask about her day and get curt, annoyed answers. It was fine, can I just relax? Or she'd snap when I asked if she wanted to make dinner plans. I'm not your secretary. Things like that. She was constantly glued to her phone but always seemed pissed off when I asked who she was talking to. I brushed it off at first. I figured maybe she was just stressed or burning out. I didn't want to admit it to myself, but I started having that gut feeling, that sixth sense you get when something's just wrong. I told myself I was being paranoid, that I was overthinking. I wasn't. So I started paying more attention. Not snooping, just observing. Her phone was always on silent. She tilted away from me when a notification popped up. She suddenly started hitting the gym at 6 a.m. She's never been a morning person and came back glowing, smug even. New lingerie I hadn't seen before started showing up in the laundry and she never wore it for me. I'd ask about it and she'd laugh and say, "Can't a woman feel sexy for herself?" Like I was the problem for noticing. One night, she got home from a client dinner late, like 11:30 p.m., and I noticed her blouse was buttoned wrong. One button off. Lipstick smudged. She was tipsy, sure, but also unusually giddy. I asked her about the dinner, and she said it was with Rebecca and the branding team. But later, I overheard her tell her sister on the phone that it was just her and Mark, and they ended up having more drinks than expected. I asked her who Mark was. She said, "Oh, just one of the new hires." When I pressed, she got defensive. "Jesus, are you jealous now?" It was just drinks. At this point, my stomach was in knots all the time. I didn't want to be the guy suspicious, paranoid, accusing. But the pieces weren't adding up. Then I made the first move I regret and also the one that cracked it all open. I looked at our shared iPad. She forgot it syncs with her phone's iMessages. So yeah, the iPad. She never used it, so it had been gathering dust in the nightstand drawer. One night while she was working late, again, I pulled it out more out of desperation than anything else. I felt sick even doing it. I wanted to be wrong. I opened iMessages. It synced. First name that popped up, Mark clinking glasses. I stared at that little champagne emoji for what felt like forever. My hands were shaking when I tapped it. And there it was. Weeks, months of messages. Flirty. Gross. Inappropriate. And then, unmistakable. I'm still sore from last night, see no evil monkey. You left your shirt in my car again, LOL. Can't wait for next Tuesday. Hotel is booked, faith-blowing kiss. My heart actually stopped. I just sat there, staring, reading the same messages over and over. I scrolled up pictures. Not nudes, but selfies of them out at restaurants, in his car, even one in a hotel mirror together. Her hair was messy. She was wearing that lingerie she said was just for her. She looked happy. I remember literally saying out loud, "What the hell?" Like I needed someone to answer me. I took screenshots of everything. I emailed them to myself. Every disgusting message. Every lie. Every emoji. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat on the couch, staring at the iPad like it might apologize. When she came home, I didn't say anything. I couldn't. Not yet. I needed to figure out what to do. But that was the moment the man I thought I was married to, the version of Sophie I had built in my mind, died. That night, after reading those messages, I just shut down. She came home around 12:15 a.m., smelling like hotel soap and cheap perfume, casually dropped her bag and gave me a half-hearted, "Hey babe." No kiss, no eye contact. Like nothing had happened. I watched her walk into the bedroom, brush her teeth, climb into bed, and scroll through Instagram like she hadn't just spent the night screwing someone else. I wanted to scream. I wanted to rip the sheets off and throw the iPad in her face. But I didn't. Instead, I waited. I needed to be smart. I needed clarity. I wasn't going to let her spin this or gaslight me like she'd been doing for months. I wanted the confrontation to be airtight, no denials, no "you're crazy" defense. I wanted her cornered. So the next morning I acted normal. Made her coffee. Asked about her client dinner. She barely looked up from her phone and mumbled something about campaign deadlines. I told her I was going to visit my brother for the weekend, needed some guy time. She just shrugged and said, "Cool, I'll probably work late again anyway." The audacity. While she was in the shower, I slipped her phone charger into my backpack. She wouldn't notice until it was too late. I planned to leave that evening, but I wasn't going to my brother's. I booked a room at a cheap motel across town. My plan? Wait one more day. Let her think I was out of town. See if she invited him over. I needed proof. Not just texts, real-time confirmation. I felt like I was living in a damn spy movie. I kissed her goodbye that evening. She barely looked up. "Love you," I said. "MMHM," she mumbled. So I left the house around 7 p.m. that Friday like I told her I would. I drove 2 blocks over, parked around the corner, and waited. Felt like a complete psycho doing it, but I was running on pure adrenaline and heartbreak. I kept telling myself, "You're not crazy. You saw the texts. This is real." At 8:43 p.m. a silver Audi pulled into the driveway. I knew that car. Mark. I had seen it once when he dropped her off a few months ago, and she said it was her coworker just giving her a lift. He had the stupid "Namaste Hi" bumper sticker. They didn't even wait long. 5 minutes later, the living room lights dimmed. Bedroom light came on. Curtains drawn, but I could see shadows. Movement. I sat there in the dark, gripping the steering wheel like it was keeping me from falling off the planet. I waited about 30 minutes. Then I walked up to the house, unlocked the front door as quietly as I could, and stepped inside. What I heard next still makes my stomach twist. Moaning. Hers. Then his voice. Laughing. Playful. Bedroom door cracked open an inch. Clothes in the hallway. A wine glass knocked over on the table. The same goddamn lingerie I bought her last Christmas, the one she said was too itchy, lying in a heap. I didn't even hesitate. I pushed the door open. Sophie screamed. Mark practically fell off the bed. They scrambled for covers like some cliché movie scene. And me? I stood there holding the iPad in one hand and my phone recording in the other. She shouted, "What the F***K are you doing here?" Not sorry, not I can explain. Just full-on rage that I dared walk in on them. That's when I snapped. So there I am, standing in the doorway watching my wife of 7 years scramble to cover herself, yelling at me like I'm the one who broke some sacred rule. Mark looks like a deer in headlights. This man has the nerve to wave at me like some awkward dinner guest who arrived early. I ignored him and looked straight at her. "You gonna introduce me to your new coworker?" I said, holding up the iPad. "Or should I just scroll through the part where you called me a boring sack of guilt and said his D***K made you feel alive again?" Her face went white, then red, then twisted into something between fake shock and absolute bitch mode fury. "You had no right to go through my stuff." That was her opening line. Not "I'm sorry." Not "this isn't what it looks like." Just straight to defense and blame. Classic. I had no right? I laughed genuinely. I had no right to find out my wife's been banging Mark from work in our bed while I thought she was out pitching to clients? Mark muttered, "Dude, maybe we should talk about this." "Shut the F***K up, Mark," I snapped without even looking at him. "Seriously. Shut your damn mouth before I forget I'm the sane one here." Then Sophie pulls the classic cheater playbook, deflection and victim mode. She said, "You've been emotionally unavailable for months." I felt alone. I needed something more. "Oh, so now it's my fault you can't keep your legs closed?" It wasn't supposed to happen. I didn't mean for it to get serious. But it did get serious, didn't it? Hotel rooms. Lingerie. Lunch dates. All while coming home and lying to my face like it was nothing. Her eyes were full of crocodile tears now. She reached for me like touching my arm would erase what I saw. "Please," she whispered. "Can we just talk?" I pulled back. "No. We're done talking." Then I looked at Mark. "You have 2 minutes to get dressed and get out of my house, or I'll make this very public." "Your boss, your wife, oh yeah, I found her Facebook too." He looked terrified. "Good." Mark scrambled like his life depended on it, which honestly, it kind of did. He put his pants on inside out, grabbed his shirt without even buttoning it, and bolted past me without saying another word. Slammed the door on his way out like a coward. Sophie sat on the edge of the bed, wrapped in the blanket like she was the victim in some war story. "Please," she said again, "can we just talk without yelling?" That's when something inside me just shut off. Like a fuse blew. The anger didn't disappear, it just got cold. Controlled. Focused. I looked at her, this woman I thought I knew, and realized I didn't feel anything. Not love. Not hate. Just numb. I'm staying with my brother for now, I said. Don't call. Don't text. Lawyer will reach out next week. Her mouth dropped open. You're not seriously going to throw everything away over one mistake? One mistake. I laughed again. Sophie, this wasn't a one-time thing. You lied to me for months. You looked me in the eyes and chose him. Again and again. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern. That's who you are now. She started crying harder. Begging even. Said she'd end it with Mark. Said she'd go to counseling. Said we could work through this. I stared at her, then pointed at the iPad still in my hand. I worked through that all night. It told me everything I needed to know. Then I turned and walked out. The weirdest thing? She didn't follow me. Not even to the door. Just let me go. Maybe deep down she knew she'd lost me. Or maybe she never really cared enough in the first place. The second I got in my car and shut the door, I lost it. I didn't cry in the house. I didn't break down in front of her. But alone? In the driver's seat, outside the home I helped pay for, the home we decorated together where we talked about growing old. I cried like a damn kid. I'm not even ashamed to say it. It was the kind of cry that comes from somewhere deep, like my whole body gave out. Chest heaving, throat tight, fists pounding the steering wheel like it was responsible. I screamed until my voice cracked. I'd never felt pain like that before. I thought I knew heartbreak. I didn't. Not until that night. I ended up at a 24-hour gas station, sitting in the lot like a zombie, drinking a bottle of water I didn't remember buying. I must have looked insane. Eventually, I drove to the cheap motel I'd booked. I lay there on the stiff mattress, staring at the ceiling fan spin like it could hypnotize the betrayal out of me. And then came the worst part, the mental replay. Every conversation we had. Every laugh she faked. Every time I kissed her goodnight while she was texting him under the covers. I thought about the time I brought her flowers just because, and she said, "Why are you being weird?" Probably because she'd already checked out. I remembered her birthday dinner 2 months ago. I made her favorite meal, poured wine, lit candles. She barely touched her plate and went to bed early. Said she had a headache. I bet she was texting him the whole time, waiting for me to fall asleep. That's when the sadness turned into something uglier. I wasn't just heartbroken, I felt humiliated. Like the last one to get the joke. Like I'd been played. The next few days were a blur of cold coffee, no sleep, and pretending to be functional at work while my entire life was imploding in the background. I stayed with my brother, who thankfully didn't ask too many questions at first. Just handed me a beer and said, "Take the couch, man." No judgment. But then came the texts. From Sophie. Long paragraphs. Half apologies, half guilt trips. I never meant to hurt you. I felt invisible. Maybe if you had been more emotionally present. I didn't reply. I was done talking to the woman who twisted a knife into my back and blamed me for bleeding. Then, about a week after the blow-up, I got a message from a number I didn't recognize. "Hey, I'm so sorry to reach out like this. I think we need to talk. I'm Mark's wife." Yup. The guy she was screwing? Married. And she knew. I found it out real fast. Mark's wife, let's call her Jenna, was calm, sharp, and way more collected than I expected. She said she'd suspected something was going on for a while, too. Apparently, Sophie had sent Mark selfies from her bathroom mirror. Jenna recognized the backsplash tile. That's how she knew where to look. She told me this wasn't even Mark's first affair, just the most serious one. Sophie and Mark had been meeting up since January. That's 8 months. But the real gut punch? She found a second phone, hidden in Mark's gym bag. And guess who was saved in it under a fake name? My wife. Renee Client. They weren't just having an affair. They had a system. Burner phones. Hidden apps. Weekend trips under fake conferences. They even had inside jokes about keeping their stories straight. Like it was some damn game. And she had the screenshots to prove it. She emailed me a whole zip folder. It was devastating. There were texts where Sophie said, "If he ever finds out, I'll just say he was cold and distant. He'll believe it. I don't even feel guilty anymore. He doesn't excite me like you do." That one stuck with me. Burned itself into my brain. Not only was she cheating, she was strategizing the narrative. Planning how to make it my fault. I had spent months blaming myself, wondering what I did wrong, when the whole time she was writing my villain arc in her story. Something inside me broke the night I read those texts from Jenna. Not just the heartbreak. Not just the anger. It was this quiet, bitter contempt that settled into my chest like cement. I didn't recognize the person I used to love anymore. Sophie wasn't just unfaithful, she was calculated. She didn't stumble. She designed this affair. She engineered it. Gaslit me while giggling with Mark behind my back. And the worst part? She expected to get away with it. You know what hit me hardest? The realization that she wanted me to be the bad guy. She wanted the story to be, my husband just doesn't make me feel alive anymore. He's emotionally unavailable. She had it preloaded, practiced, ready to fire. That's not love. That's manipulation. That's cruelty wrapped in lipstick and fake tears. So I stopped wondering if she loved me at all. I stopped second-guessing every moment. I stopped asking if I should have worked harder, been more affectionate, more exciting, more whatever. Because no version of me, no version of anyone, deserves to be betrayed like that. A switch flipped. I went from heartbroken husband to stone-cold operator. I called a divorce lawyer the next morning. A good one. Expensive, but worth every penny. I forwarded the messages. Sent over screenshots. All of it. Jenna helped too. She was furious at both of them and she wanted to burn it all down just like I did. Sophie kept texting me during all this. The tone shifted from apologetic to desperate to angry. So you're really just going to throw away 7 years? You're being immature. You can't even talk to me? After everything? I didn't respond. Not once. Because talking to her now felt like trying to reason with a snake who bit you and then cried when you screamed. Filing for divorce wasn't satisfying. I thought it would be that moment where I slam the gavel down metaphorically and declare, I'm done with you. But it wasn't dramatic. It was just paperwork. Lawyers. Forms. Disclosures. A sad little stack of legal language that spelled out the death of a marriage. But here's the kicker, Sophie fought it. She didn't want a clean break. She wanted negotiation. Delay. Leverage. She actually had the nerve to ask for half of my business assets even though I built my company from scratch years before I met her. My lawyer shut that down quick, but it told me everything I needed to know about her mindset. She didn't want to save the marriage. She wanted to save face. And maybe make me pay for not playing along with her victim narrative. She started telling mutual friends that I had emotionally abandoned her. That I was cold. That she tried to make it work, but I just refused to communicate. Thankfully, I had receipts. I didn't go public, but I made sure key people, friends, family, especially anyone she tried to manipulate, saw the proof. The messages. The affair. The way she spun lies like cotton candy. Some people stayed neutral. A few actually tried to say, well, relationships are complicated. No. Cheating isn't complicated. Lying isn't complicated. Gaslighting someone until they feel crazy, that's not complicated. That's abuse. But I stayed calm. I let my lawyer handle the venom. I kept my distance. I focused on moving forward even when everything felt like it was collapsing behind me. She eventually caved. Signed the papers. No alimony. No house. I kept the business. She got her car, her clothes, and whatever dignity she had left. But don't get me wrong, winning didn't feel good. It felt like being the last man standing in a war you never wanted to fight. The day she finally signed the papers, I didn't celebrate. I didn't go out drinking. I didn't post cryptic quotes about freedom or new beginnings. I just sat in my brother's garage, alone, staring at the email from my lawyer confirming it was official. It felt less like a victory and more like exhaling after holding my breath for months. You know that moment when you didn't even realize your chest was tight until the tension finally lets go? That was it. I was free. Not in the fairy tale, I'm going to travel the world and get shredded and date supermodels kind of way. I was free in the I can finally sleep through the night without checking if she's texting someone else kind of way. The I don't have to live in a house built on lies kind of way. At first, everything felt empty. The silence was loud. I kept catching myself thinking she'll be home soon before remembering she wasn't coming back. Sometimes I'd still instinctively reach for my phone to text her something dumb like a meme or a funny headline. Then I'd stop mid-motion and just stare at my screen like it betrayed me too. But the small things saved me. Sleeping in peace. Waking up without dread. Eating dinner without checking the clock, wondering if she was really working late. I started journaling. Working out again. Rebuilding my daily routine, piece by broken piece. It wasn't glamorous and it sure as hell wasn't easy, but for the first time in a long time I felt like me again. Not the insecure, walking on eggshells version of myself I became when I was with her. One night I drove to the beach, sat on the hood of my car, and watched the sun go down. No noise. No drama. Just me and the horizon. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just breathed. It was a Thursday. Random, quiet, unremarkable. I was working late, just finishing up emails when I saw her name pop up on my phone. Sophie. No text. A call. I stared at the screen for a good 30 seconds, thumb hovering over decline. But some stubborn part of me, maybe morbid curiosity, maybe closure, hit accept. She started with silence. That weird, heavy kind where you can hear someone breathing but not speaking. Then, finally, I needed to say I'm sorry. Her voice cracked. She sounded small. Not the sharp, smug woman I'd seen on our last day under the same roof. This version was hollow. She said she regretted everything. That she missed us. That she made the biggest mistake of her life and she didn't expect forgiveness but had to tell me she was sorry. She even cried. And maybe a part of me had waited for that moment. The apology. The confirmation that I wasn't crazy. That what she did was wrong and she knew it. That she finally saw the damage she'd done. But instead of relief, I just felt tired. I said, "You're not apologizing for me. You're apologizing to make yourself feel better." Silence. Then that's not true. But it was. She wasn't calling for me. She was calling because she was hurting. Because Mark went back to his wife. Because her social circle had shrunk. Because she finally had to sit with the emptiness she built. I told her calmly, "I don't hate you. But I don't trust you. And I sure as hell don't want you back." More crying. Another please. Something about memories. About how we laughed and danced in the kitchen. About how we used to be good. And we were. Used to be. But that version of us died the moment she looked me in the eye and lied while Mark was waiting in her texts. So I ended it simply. "I hope you figure yourself out. But I'm done carrying your guilt. Goodbye, Sophie." Then I hung up. And for the first time since this all started, I felt peace. After that final call, something in me fully shifted. Not overnight, healing's not a light switch, but that phone call was the last chain unhooked from my neck. The final illusion burned away. I started focusing on me. For the first time in years, without guilt, without compromise. I reconnected with old friends I'd slowly lost during the marriage, the ones she said were immature or not a good influence. Turns out, they were just the ones who saw through her facade. They welcomed me back like I'd never left. No awkwardness, no questions I wasn't ready to answer, just beers, bad jokes, and real talk. Therapy helped too. Yeah, I said it. A dude in his 30s with a therapist. Best investment I made through this entire mess. Talking out the guilt, the rage, the loss, it didn't erase anything, but it helped me rebuild from the rubble. One honest session at a time. And little by little, I got my spark back. I started running again. Cooking for myself. Waking up early not because I had to, but because I wanted to. I looked in the mirror and didn't see a broken man anymore. I saw someone surviving. Then thriving. I dated a little. Nothing serious. Just getting used to human connection again without fear or baggage. A few coffee dates, a few awkward ones, one that actually turned into a pretty cool friendship. But I wasn't rushing anything. I was rebuilding myself, not searching for someone to patch the hole. And every now and then, I'd hear from someone who still talked to Sophie. Apparently, she'd moved apartments. Went dark on social media. Word was she tried therapy too. Maybe she's figuring herself out. I hope so. But I no longer care in the way I used to. And that's the difference. If you're reading this and you're in the place I was, suspicious, doubting your gut, walking on eggshells in your own home, listen to me. You are not crazy. If something feels off, it probably is. Cheaters don't just break hearts, they make you question your reality. They'll lie with a straight face. They'll say you are the problem while sneaking off to someone else's arms. It's not just the betrayal, it's the gaslighting. The manipulation. The quiet erosion of your confidence until you feel like you deserve to be discarded. You don't. What I learned is this. Love doesn't require you to abandon yourself. I bent over backward trying to make it work. She was checked out long before I even realized there was a game being played. Closure is not something they give you. Closure is what you give yourself when you decide their story is no longer yours. Healing is ugly, but it's also yours. You'll cry. You'll feel weak. You'll hate them. You'll hate yourself. Then one day you'll look in the mirror and feel calm. Then strong. Then free. Your worth is not measured by how much you can tolerate. Staying loyal to someone who's lying to you doesn't make you noble. It makes you trapped. If I could go back and talk to myself 6 months ago, I'd say, don't wait for the pain to be undeniable. You already know the truth. Stop loving the potential of who they used to be and start protecting the person you still are. I'm not the same guy I was when this all started. Honestly, I'm better. Not because she cheated, but because I walked away. So to whoever needs to hear it. You're not weak for staying. But you'll find your strength the day you finally leave. Thanks for sticking with me, Reddit. This story's over, but the next chapter? That one's all mine.